Hi, I'm Julia Hayes, and today I'm going to be doing a painting in the style of Joan Mitchell. So I've got this really big canvas in front of me, a variety of different paints, and an assortment of large paintbrushes because the canvas is really big. So, an important question to ask when we're doing a painting in the style of Joan Mitchell is obviously, who is Joan Mitchell? Joan Mitchell was a painteress in the abstract expressionist era of painting. This took place during the 1940s and 50s. Her works of art are very severe, I would call them, especially the way that she makes her brush strokes, the way that she paints. In this era, we kind of see two different types of paintings taking place. We see more of the abstract expressionist movement, a massive event that was taking place during this time, and that event was, of course, World War II. There were a lot of atrocities that took place during World War II. Countless young men gave their lives to serve their countries during this time, not to mention the Holocaust and Nazi Germany. And the world was just a messy place, not a very happy place to be. So, as we know, art is directly influenced by whatever is going on in the world at the time, or what just happened in the world. So this era of modernist art was highly influenced by World War II, the events that took place, and just people's general responses to what was happening. There were two basic ideas of the types of art that were happening, especially in 1945, and which is when the war ended. So in 1945 to probably about 1955, those ideas were heavily influenced by the war, the effects of the war, etc. This idea that there is chaos in the world is a mess, things are ugly, things are not looking good. There were artists that really wanted to reflect that sort of gore and kind of point out the idea that this is what's happening in the world and it's ugly. And so you see the works of Francis Bacon or Alfred Giacometti, and they were just really, their works are honestly, they're really ugly, they're hard to look at, they're disturbing, because they have this idea that this is what the world is like right now, so this is what I'm going to paint. And then we also see this idea, this rise of abstract expressionism, and that's where Joan Mitchell comes in, along with painters like Willem de Kooning. Willem de Kooning had this idea where he would paint women, but he would paint them in very subverted ways, but they would use less colors, less subjects in their paintings, and just, it was very messy. So Willem de Kooning heavily influenced Joan Mitchell, who is one of the woman painters of the era. He influenced her in that he had very harsh brush strokes, and that's something that we really see in this work by Joan Mitchell. But when talking about her work, Joan Mitchell kind of talks about the fact that she is more focused on form. She's not really focused on subject. She wants to move the space and she wants to work with the space. The way that we see this being influenced from World War II ideas is this idea that we have to simplify things. So for Joan, she didn't really have a subject that she was trying to present. She was trying to present just painting, just paint on a canvas. And it's my personal belief that the reason for this is just that need for, in a time of so much confusion, so much bitterness, why has this happened? Why are these things the way that they are? You have to come back to the basics in a sense. Because you have to understand, World War II shifted the whole idea of life, of human life, and the value of human life just with the wanton killing, the wanton destruction. You can look at the atomic bomb dropped on Hiroshima and Nagasaki by the United States. It just was messy and senseless. You have to imagine it left a lot of people of the time to wonder, why is this all happening? What is going on? And just to say to themselves, I want to come back to the basics. And that's where I believe that Joan Mitchell got a lot of her thoughts and a lot of why she painted the way that she did was because of that idea of the world is a mess and this is not enjoyable. So having those ideas really drove her to paint the way that she did. So as you can see, what I'm doing right now, in what I have been doing for the past, several minutes working on this painting, is just kind of putting paint on the brush and moving it around the canvas. And that was a lot of what Joan Mitchell was focused on. That's just a lot of what she was up to in the art world, is she just wanted to get paint on that canvas. And that's kind of what I'm doing today. I'm trying to use a few different colors that are appealing to me. We've got kind of this magenta. I actually kind of like what it's doing. I didn't think that I would, but I like the way that the colors are mixing. I think that the yellow, the green, and the magenta was a really good call. This was kind of her style, is she was like, I'm gonna just put something on the canvas and I'm gonna make it happen. And that's kind of what I'm doing right now. Just putting something on the canvas and making it happen. It's really hard for me to embody what Joan Mitchell is experiencing because, I think that painting stylistically, every artist is so different, and so it's hard for me to imagine, someone painting with the kind of like vigor that she painted, especially, you look at her works, you see her paintings, and everything is just so like, like that's what you're experiencing. And for me as a painter, I have never painted that way. I've never been able to paint that way. I'm very concerned with like aesthetics and beauty. And I think that speaks to how our current time period has affected how I paint. We see how the time period, especially of World War II, has affected how Joan Mitchell painted. And, similarly, my time period that I'm currently living with is affecting my work. So, I can't really paint exactly in the style of Joan Mitchell because I don't know her emotions. I don't know that feeling of living in a post-war world in the same way that she did. So I can attempt to follow her lead in some things, but there are some things that I'm not going to be able to replicate exactly. And I think especially those harsh brush strokes that we see in her work, it's just so hard for me to look at those and go, yep, I'm gonna paint like that. I can't do it. Can't do it. I think that this is good. I like what's happening here. I like the mixing. I like the melding. It's therapeutic, honestly. I do wonder a little bit if some of Joan's work was not just therapeutic for her, that she wasn't necessarily trying to create something for the sake of getting it into a gallery or trying to change the world's view on things. I do really wonder. I'm doing this style painting. I really wonder, was this just therapeutic for her? Was this genuinely just enjoyable for her to do? Because it's nice. It feels nice to just put paint on canvas. Especially living in the time period that she did, you have to wonder. I think when we see abstract art in the museum, a lot of times we kind of go, oh, there's this meaning, this deep spiritual meaning to it, and you have to really connect with the piece. And I do kind of wonder how many of the pieces that we see were just the artists doing something that they enjoy, just having this like therapeutic moment this intimate moment between themselves and their canvas, because you need moments like that, especially after an event like World War II, and just to take away the stress of the world, the stress of the time. I have no plan. I'm really just painting with my heart and just saying, I think that this area could use a little more yellow. This area could use a little bit more of the green. I wonder how many of the artists were just doing that, and we all want to be critics. We all want to be seeing the hidden meaning in things. I wonder if people see this someday, what kind of story are they going to make up about my artwork? And I'm not opposed to that. If we're being real here, I'm not opposed to people making up a story, because that's what art is all about. It's about the story, and it's a intimate experience between the viewer and the artist of just having something together. But for me as an artist, this is the side of it that I'm doing for me. I don't know, and you know what, I don't know if anyone will ever see it ever. But if they do, I'm okay with them making up a story about it. I'm okay with them making up a meaning of why I painted the way that I did. That's totally fine with me. Everyone experiences art in a different way. So, maybe they see a symbolism in this brush stroke that it speaks to them a certain way. Good for them. But for me, this is just me enjoying my time with my canvas, enjoying what I'm doing, taking a deep breath. I think that Joan Mitchell had a great idea when she was doing this. That was pretty brilliant of her. Just to get to do something you enjoy, and create a piece, and create some beauty. Good for her. Okay, and this is the finished work of my painting, which in the spirit of Joan Mitchell, I'm gonna call it No Name, because I can't call it Untitled, because that's her thing. But I'm gonna call it No Name, because all of her paintings were called Untitled, so mine might as well be as well. Thanks for watching today. I really hope that you enjoyed this video, and consider liking, subscribing, leaving a comment if you'd like to see me make another video in the style of another painter. I'm not a super great painter, but I like talking about the time period. I like the history of it, so